I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
President Berman,
Here.
Director Evans,
Here.
Director Brown,
Here.
Director Clayton,
Here.
Director Baxter.
Here. Moving on to item number 1. Minutes of the regular meeting held October 24th, 2024.
I've read the minutes, and I believe they're accurate, make a motion to approve the. I read it as well, and I'll second it.
I will be recusing myself because I was not here at last meeting. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item number 2, committee reports.
Mr. President, you're on the 28th of October, your marketing committee met. The arts and social media. That's on the 30th of October, real estate committee met, discussed the G3 project and potential tanker project. On the 4th of November, your real estate committee met and talked about the Zima flight. That's all I have for now.
Thank you. Any questions before moving on? Moving on to item number 3, general manager's report.
Yes, Mr. President, on the 25th of October, myself and Eric Justice from RM participated in the Economic Development Commission's quarterly meeting, and we talked about the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Settlement Agreement with the group, and Eric did outstanding that presentation on the work have been doing to further the business project, specific and I think their work. On the 6th of November, the Planning Commission heard the A Street rezoning project item and recommended the City Council approve that rezoning. And the item will be before the City Council next Tuesday, November 19th. On the 8th of November, we participated in the Chamber's Business and Government Roundtable. The city is in the process of doing a general plan update, so the presentation from the city and the group talked about the general plan and the needs for the city. On the 12th, Eric and myself again met with the city, with the acting city manager and the planning director, to talk about the general plan and how the specific plan and the associated environmental reviews can be handled in a way that's most efficient. So there's ongoing conversation with the city in that regards. I've been working coordinating with UCLA, they're experts in California tiger salamanders. We collectively are trying to facilitate the relocation of a breeding facility, if you will, for tiger salamander from an area down in San Ynez area to the conservation area that's been established. So we've been doing a number of things, coordinating that. And the plan now is to do that move. It's about 100 of these, as you call them, horse troughs. About 100 of them that would be moved here. We're planning to do that on the 21st of this month. So we'll work together, get them in place. We have a site already picked out that's adjacent to the main pond on the property, and they'll make fall effort to get water into it. These scientists will go about growing tiger salamanders. So that's all I have for now.
Just to add on to that, we've had a few different high school biology colleges reach out about this, and I believe we're going to have one attending that setup. So already working as a public resource. Any questions before moving on? Thank you, Martin. Moving on to item number 4, Manager of Finance and Administration Report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Provided the manager for your review and approval.
right to it, make your motion, we approve.
We have a motion, do I hear a second? We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Anything else? Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 5, public session. Statements from the board will be heard during public session. Request to speak forms are provided for those wishing to address the board. After completing the form, please give it to the clerk. Requests requiring board action will be referred to staff and brought on the next appropriate agenda. Members of the public are cordially invited to speak on agenda items as they occur. Staff reports covering agenda items are available for review in the offices of the general manager on the Tuesday prior to each meeting. The board will establish a time limit for receipt of testimony, in this case, 3 minutes. The board reserves the right to establish further time limits for receipt of testimony. With that being said, I have one request to speak form. Chris, come through. 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. President Moreno and the rest of the board. Today, I'm Chris Kunkel, owner of Central Coast Jet Center. And I just wanted to bring to your attention today that we're really fighting the runway condition. That's what I want to talk about today. General Manager, Martin Bell and Rick are we've been talking with them a lot about this operation, but I felt that you guys needed to hear it from somebody else other than your own staff. We had a customer that was supposed to be here for 3 weeks doing flight testing. They lasted 4 days, changed 2 tires and ended up going to San Jose. Would have been a major customer for us to have stay with us. As it was pointed out, they didn't provide a safe, this is becoming an unsafe situation with the gravel coming through the runway that, we've all seen. We're wearing out tires like TAC Air, they're seeing 4 to 6 landings per tire, out there. This is becoming a major problem. So I just want to bring it to your attention. It's now kind of hurting the businesses at the airport, which is, takes on a whole new part of the operation. But I think there's a way that we should put that as a priority, at least to get what we talked about, this quick fix, emergency fix of this first 1,500 feet or 2,000 feet, just so that we can make it through the next operation of the FAA's grant process. But I just want you to understand that, it is becoming a major issue for us tenants. And there's operators such as the Forest Service that operate out of here consistently. They also, for 5 years, we've been talking with Chris Hoster and the previous board. And, it's time that we really push to try and get this done. I'll help as much as I can as far as providing numbers or customers or letters or whatever we need to support. But I would appreciate that you guys really take this seriously and move forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else? All right. Moving on to item number 6, introduction of land trust for Santa Barbara County and update on conservation easement under settlement agreement with FWS and CDFA.
Yes, Mr. President, as you're aware, part of our settlement agreement requires that we enter into an agreement with a third party to hold the easement that is the conservation area. And to that end, we've been working with the Santa Barbara County Land Trust, in hopes that they might become that third party. We met with them today and walked the property, and they're here to introduce themselves. Let them get up and say a few words.
Hi, President Brandon, members of the board. My name is Devin Rothman, and I'm the Director of Land Conservation for the Land Trust for Santa Barbara County. We are a nonprofit organization, 501c3, been operating in Santa Barbara County since 1985. And we hold conservation interests, either conservation easements or fee title in 58 different properties around the county, totaling about 57,000 acres. The majority of what we do is we partner with willing landowners to do conservation easements. And those can be various for various reasons, including agricultural productivity protection and for wildlife habitat. We own several conservation easements that are specifically for conservation of California tiger salamander. It's one of the things that we do most frequently over the last several years. It's a big issue, but we also do a lot of other types of things throughout the county. And we're excited to partner with the airport district. We really, like the Tiger Salamander conservation, but we really like the vision of this property being a resource, being a resource for education, being a resource for some more research, all the other things that can be protected. Tiger Salamander's reason were brought together, but it's also not the only value out there, and it's one we're definitely a benefit organization, and we're excited to work together on that kind of conservation.
Thank you, Kevin. We're super excited. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
What's your estimate of the actual population numbers at this airport plus the added ones you're going to bring in here? Yeah,
In terms of the individual Tiger Salamanders, I have no idea.
no idea.
Yeah, we're really focused on the land conservation side, the real estate part of it, so the pieces that help in keeping properties into open space. So I think the UCLA folks who are also being brought in partners, they're really the actual species, the individual species and the population dynamics. They have a lot more experience with that, and actually that's why I would ask, because the UCLA folks, what they would think about that.
No idea if it's a few hundred or 2,000 or 8,000.
Yeah, I'm not positive that it's probably more in the 100 range of those. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I could just take a moment to provide some context and then maybe invite Bob Woodrow as well, briefly. So the context for this is that, as you and the members of the public know, your board authorized and entered into a settlement agreement in August of this year with federal and state agencies regarding the alleged take of CTS, California Tiger Salamander, in portions of airport property. Critically, the settlement agreement of which the land trust is, we're hoping that they'll be a part, allowed the airport to move forward with really essential and critical projects that ensure both the safety and operational efficiency of the airport. So I just want to set where the land trust is in that context. The settlement agreement required that the airport contribute a certain amount to conservation of CTS and set aside about 300 acres of the southern portion of airport property to conservation. As was presented when this settlement agreement was entered into, that land was likely not developable and not usable anyway for other types of development. And critically, again, I just want to emphasize that the role that the land trust is playing is that they are the holders of the easement. And so concerned with preservation of the open space, they're going to monitor that the terms of that open space easement are adhered to and kept. The conservation and the development of the CTS is going to be with the experts that your general manager has met with from UCLA, from other institutions of education, and partly also we're hoping from schools in the community. So this is really a way for, and I know one of the gentlemen mentioned the runway conditions. That funding was all frozen up because of this issue. This settlement ensured that your district is able to move forward with applying for grants and receiving the grant funding that's necessary in order to make necessary repairs and move forward with really critical development of your airport property. So again, I think it's important that we situate where the land trust is, which is monitoring and holding the easement for that airport, for that southern part of the airport property. But this is part of a bigger a conservation agreement that your board has authorized in order to enable the district to move forward with a lot of projects that you all have had planned and presented to your district.
Well, aware of that, appreciate that I've already done that. Just trying to figure out how much each one of these tiger salamanders would actually cost the airport if you use the population of tiger salamanders divided into the amount of money that we put in there. Just trying to get a feel of that. But that's so I appreciate what you think. I got 3 minutes because everything else is worse.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks, Daniel. And thank you, Devin. Moving on to item number 7, authorize the general manager to fulfill the first payment of $50,000 to UCLA for the CTS population management controlled propagation as part of the settlement agreement with FWS and CDFW.
As I mentioned earlier, we're working with UCLA, that meeting. This week with Steve last Friday with, U.S. Fish and Wildlife and UCLA. And per the settlement agreement, we agreed to provide $50,000 for this effort, and, U.S. Fish and Wildlife believes the right way to meet that settlement agreement item is by providing this funding to UCLA for that effort. It's actually, they think it's actually gonna cost about $80,000 to do all the things they need to do to set it up. But this is what we agreed to, so.
I'll make the motion that we,
And I'll second that for the reason that it unplugs the problems of the.
we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Moving on to item number 8, presentation by Haley. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher your name, I apologize. Is it Mascaroni?
Mascaroni.
Mascaroni.
It's a tricky one.
And then Hall Social by Haley
Yeah.
regarding social media marketing for the San Diego Public Airports.
I'm gonna go ahead and put it on there just for you to follow. But I'm Haley Mascheroni. I own Hot Social and I do social media management and marketing. I have been in this space for a little over 7 years now, so I do have some experience. And now I own my own company doing management and marketing for local businesses that, you and I all know and love. We grew up here, so I'm really, really familiar and involved in the community and the area. And I try to stay on top of all of like what's going on in the community, the involvement, all of that. And I think I can bring a lot to the airport because after looking at the socials and kind of talking with some of the board members, I think it would be really beneficial for the airport to have a presence on social media, because why not? Everybody's on social media of all ages, and I think that there is a lot of potential with, content. And then I kind of made a little like plan of attack with what we could do moving forward, just to start. So there's a little about me. I won't bore you too much with it, but yeah, I do content creation. I do like branding. I work really closely with a local photographer that does all my work so that it looks really professional, organized, uniform. And then moving forward, I think here are some things that we can do just to start right out of the gate. Highlighting exciting aircraft when allowed, professional photography of it, even putting that on the airport page would be very aesthetically pleasing, very exciting for the community. Introducing the staff in a very friendly and professional way. It's just a really nice way to, get community involvement. Touring through the airport, the grounds, having video content, which I also do shooting and producing that, putting it together. Posting it to our, social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok if you want. The community involvement, they mentioned that you guys do a Float in the Parade, which I think is super cool, really exciting, and I think that would be a really fun way to document your community involvement. Reels content, I can make so many reels, so many videos of just the grounds, airport, airplanes taking off, landing, all that exciting stuff, which would also be really cool. For children and just everybody basically engaging in our gauge. And then I would do like a professional shoot of the grounds, the employees, anything that we could really shoot. And my plan, usually I bank all of those photos and we use all of that for the content for the page so that it all looks clean and organized, uniform, and aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So yeah. That's basically how I plan moving forward, and I have grown up here. I'm very involved in the community. I would love to work with you guys, and any feedback or questions?
Questions?
Good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, moving on to, so this item will be moved over to a separate date, but item number 9 was supposed to be authorization for the president and secretary to execute the ground lease for the self-service fuel facility between the district and the Central Coast Jet Center. That will be taken. So, moving on to item number 10, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the 28th amendment of the lease between the district and CJB.
Mr. President, so as you stated, requesting that you amend the extend the lease with CJJ Farming. Some keynotes is that we're essentially two parts of it. We're mindful of part of the farming operation is in the area of the G3 project. So we're gonna, we met with the farmer and he understands that at some point in the near future, we're gonna have to discontinue farming and all that development to occur. So we worked that into the lease. And the biggest item is we've increased the rental amount. I think it was 1,300. Originally, we're the terms lease to go to 2450 per acre. So
2450, and that's with CPI adjustments yearly,
yes,
as well as 5-year adjustment.
it is a 5-year term with 1 year of notice determination. On the main part, it's 6 months for the G3 portion.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 11.
And one last thing, it makes about almost $70,000 per month, is that a bottom line,
Yes,
to our 2-year board?
it would be $63,508.08.
Plus, section B, which is the other $5,400.
Well, I see your point.
Almost $70,000 a month, that I see receiving rentals. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Moving on to item number 11, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the service agreement between the district and RM Design Group with Santa Maria Airport Business Park lot line adjustment.
So, again, as you know, we work with RM a lot. We just need to clean up their contracts with them. Some of them are dated. When you've been moved, one of the things we're working on is a lot line adjustment that would allow the G3 area to have its own parcel or several parcels to allow you the opportunity, if you wish, to sell. We're not going with it, but we're just creating that opportunity if you feel the need to raise capital.
Make a motion to approve. Second that. Can you say that, can you give us a little bit more information on?
We've been working with through the real estate committee to do a lot line adjustment, which adjusts existing lot lines. So this property becomes, this section of airport property becomes its own parcel, have its own separate, actually 2 parcels that would have its own APN numbers, and that is required if the property is to be sold. It has to have its own parcel. You can't sell part of airport property if it's its own parcel. A Street's an example where it's its own parcel.
Let's go ahead and show Michael and the public which lot.
We're talking about the G3 property right here. You see it's bifurcated from the airport. You're never gonna get airplanes over here. So I think it's similar to the sale for the FedEx property that was done some years ago. There's several parcels, there's all kind of parcels. You just use an existing part of the land. You create 2 different parcels here. These 2 make it 3 because there's a drainage basin that we have to maintain in the airport. There's an approved, city approved project to do self-storage, and there's proposed phase 2 to develop this area for some kind of commercial use. Part of the challenge is G3 folks that they might have as potential tenants. Some of them want fee ownership of the property. And at least it makes it less marketable to some companies out there that do commercial type of real estate. And there's the reality that you all may need to raise some capital.
Thank you, Mario. Any more questions? Okay, we had a motion and a second. With that, all in favor? Aye.
I would vote no, because I don't like the idea of selling property, or we have one case.
Oh, this
is like Parkersburg.
My understanding is that we're separating that up for other purposes, but the possibility of if we need to sell to raise funds, if we needed capital, it would already be done in place, so we wouldn't have that time period to wait in order to be able to say, hey, we need to sell it, for this reason, let's sell it. We're not authorizing a sale by doing those, we're just wanting a lot line.
The lot line process is like, everything comes together for like a 9-12 month process. In order to sell a property, you have to go through an FAA property release process, and there's far from selling the property, but this will be a first step to put you all in a position if you wish to do it within a future date.
All right, I'll change that to yes, first step.
All right,
But we're not intended not to sell the property.
moving on. Moving on to item number 12, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the first amendment of service agreement between the district and RM Design Group for on-call land use planning services.
This is, we've had one with them for some time, it's, they want to have a fresh agreement. This allows us to simply, as needed, call on ORM to do certain work for us. As needed.
Right.
Motion with that.
We have a motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 13, authorization for the president and secretary to execute a service agreement between the district and RM Design Group for open space parcel rezoning.
So just some background. This has a specific plan, specific plan already. That specific plan envisioned a golf course coming through this area. So this is zoned open space. That's no longer the case. There's not going to be a golf course. The environmental biological issues have been resolved by dedicating this property. So we need to work with ORM and the city to amend and update the specific plan. So this becomes buildable space, developable property.
With that, do I hear a motion?
Second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 14, authorization for the general manager to purchase additional cameras and license plate readers for the terminal parking lots, Terminal Drive, and Hinge Street.
Mr. President, this is an item that was budgeted for, to approve in your budget, and Rick has been working diligently and has brought forward a proposal with our current vendor to add these cameras in our parking lot to improve the security situation.
Like somebody like to call those and do that, that's some troubles.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion in a second before we go on, and we have some questions for Rick. Do we know if the license plate reader will be able to connect with, Santa Maria Police Department's license plate readers system, as well as maybe the other police department?
So it won't connect with theirs, but we can give them access
Okay,
so that they can see it.
In no time, so if there's a license plate that's on their list, we'll pick it up and they'll notify them.
They'll be able to search for them.
When you go, we'll actually send them the information.
Our system won't know what license plates to look for. So the city will have to manually look for it.
Does it interface with it?
No,
so essentially they'll be able to access.
they'll get them a portal so they can access. it.
Okay, so they can look at the. Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. Cool. All right, so we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 15, authorization for the general manager to purchase F3 foam for 2 ARC trucks to stay compliant with the FAA certification.
So just some background on this as well. 5 or 6 years ago, the state of California outlawed the use, manufacturing use of PFAS, polyfluoroethylene substances. Example would be go to Costco and you look at their pots and pans, see they're advertising PFAS free, or they could be international. So no more Teflon, scratched up plates and all that. You also may recall that Congressman Government came here and did, passed a bill to provide funding for reimbursement of these costs, that we hope reimburse us for this. So kind of, so about a year ago, the FAA, I think it's October of last year, the FAA put forward a mil spec to that, allowed the F3, what they call an F3 to be used. While the, just give some background, while the state outlawed it, they waived it for commercial service airports because Part 139 requires the use, specifically requires that AFFF that has PFAS be used. So we couldn't meet the state law, any commercial service airport with the state couldn't meet the conditions of the state law and without violating Part 139. So the law, the state law identified that and provided a waiver, and then 12 months after the bill spec is provided, they expected us to make the transition. We held back a little so that the big kids could jump into the pool first and show us the way, because we didn't want to do this twice. Because there's some complication to this. It's not as, there's 3 different F3s that you can buy, but they're not interchangeable. You can't mix it with AFFF. There's different, they behave differently, so the fire department has to be on board and trained to it. The city went through this transition because they're not subject to Part 139. So some years ago, they transitioned over to F3 in their engines. So they were very familiar with what we're working with. So we worked with them, and we're staying with the same same provider that provides for the airport and city fire in their F3. And this will allow us to make the acquisition of the material. And since it arrives, do you know how long it'll take for it to?
They guess 2 to 3 weeks, possibly 4, or they can expedite it.
So so we'll be working with the fire to rotate the trucks to clean them. We'll have to capture the AFFF and safely dispose of it, and then we'll be compliant. F3 and FAA and state compliant.
Do we have any expected downtime for trucks?
Probably a day per truck.
Probably a day.
Luckily, we have 2 trucks, so we'll just process it.
I got a question. Why the different size containers?
You want, you have the main loading, so there's different costs. Bigger bulk. But you also have to, when you're fighting the fire, top off your tank. So you can't carry a big tote or 50-gallon drum out there, or I guess.
Right.
Instead, they have, this is what we do now. If you're doing like major filling, you buy the big drum, the 50-gallon drum.
No, I got it.
And then you carry them, but then you have a supply of 5-gallon drums that a firefighter can readily manage loading to a truck to top it off.
But what's the shelf life of this?
I don't know what the shelf life is.
Not yet.
The quantity that you got, how long will that last us? With no fires, we want that.
A long time. I mean, we're working with the fire department, they're telling me that's the way to go.
So this supply will last the airport, how long will that?
As long as there's not a fire, yes.
Well, and I know now, so now we're not using AFFF like in training because it has PFAS in it, it's expensive. And there's a whole water board thing we're dealing with because every airport's dealing with because of PFAS. They might work this into their training now because they can actually apply it. Because they're gonna have to spend some time with it to see how it functions.
I'll make a motion to.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. All right, let's go and take a 5-minute break and we'll go straight into the transition. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Moving on to item number 17, Director's Comments. Go ahead and,
I look forward to the airport getting better and better. Go ahead, leave one over here.
I'd like to thank Dave Basket for his service on the airport board. It's been up and down, and I know that your heart was in it. And now we have another gentleman coming in, and I hope that we can move on forward and do great things more with the airport. Still on the water board, I think the water board is just a terrible thing out there that we're just gonna have to address, and we're gonna just keep fighting the water board until we get a resolution that works best for the airport. So with all that said, I think the airport's heading in a great direction. That's it. Lionel Thomas.
No comment. I also think the airport's moving in a good direction. I look forward to continuing the next 2 years, being a part of it. I look forward to taking those kids, I look forward to see the Tire Cylinder rehabilitation project. I think it's great to get that, started as a public service, sooner. So we're really going to that, and that's my part.
Make a recommendation.
And what? Seconds? All in favor?
Aye.